Hi, I'm Michael Galatioto. I'm a psychology teacher at Greenwich High School, and I have a degree in interpretive analysis of how psychology relates to English literature. I received it from Harvard, Yale, and Columbia universities, and I travel around the world giving scholarly advice on how Freud relates to some of the best literature from America and England. As you'll see here, Sigmund Freud had an iceberg model of consciousness. There is the conscious level, which is what you are thinking about. There's the pre-conscious level, which are your memories and your stored knowledge. And there's the unconscious level, which is a deep, dark reservoir of things that you repress and do not let yourself consciously attend to. Sigmund Freud believed that your personality structures, your id, your ego, and your superego were housed in your unconscious level, and that a conflict between the id and the superego led to a balance or an equilibrium that created your ego. So Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde show the conflict that exists between the id and the superego. This scene demonstrates that Mr. Hyde is being driven by his id when he tramples the young girl.
This is unjust. You must pay for this cruel action.
If you choose to make capital off of this accident, I am naturally helpless. No gentleman but wishes to avoid a scene. Name your figure.
I think 100 pounds will be just.
Fair enough.
This must be fraud. A man does not walk out the high school at 11 in the morning and come out with another man's check for close upon 100 pounds.
If you don't believe me, I'll stay with you until the bank's open and cash the check myself.
Hey, Dr. Jekyll. Hi. How are you? I'm good. How are you? Good, thanks. How's your practices going? Oh, it's wonderful. How's life? Great, thanks.
In contrast, the fact that Dr. Jekyll is very well respected in the community and seeks to engage in the community in a very socially acceptable way shows that he's driven by his unconscious superego.
I don't believe it. The check is genuine. The person that drew up the check is very pink of the properties. Celebrated too. And what make it worse, sellers would do what they call good, blackmail, I suppose, and honest men paying through the nose for some of the capers of this youth.
So Mr. Hyde is really driving the id portion of Dr. Jekyll's personality, and that comes into conflict with the part of his personality, the superego, that wants to do what's socially acceptable and wants to do what's right. So there's a little conflict going on between the superego and the id, and that is what's driving the ego to be in conflict in that situation.
There's been a horrible murder outside. You must take a look.
Well, take me to it.
Mr. Hyde is gone.
Why don't you find Mr. Hudson to see what it's all about? Good God, sir. It is possible this will make a great deal of noise, and perhaps can help us to the man also bad.
Is this Mr. Hyde, a person of small stature?
Particularly small, particularly weak looking. Is what the maid calls him.
chaps?
Good. Good. Very good. How's your day?
Good. Treat some patients.
Oh, yes. Very.
Everybody just loves you, Dr. Jekyll.
Oh, thank you. I know. People do.
I've been waiting to speak to you, Jekyll.
You have.
Good, man.
Yeah, you know that will of yours?
Yeah.
You know that I never approved of it.
My will? Yes, certainly. I know that. You told me so.
Well, let me tell you again. I found something about that young Hyde.
I don't care to hear more. This is a matter I thought we agreed to drop. You do not understand my position. It is one of those affairs that cannot be mended by talking.
Jekyll, you know me. I'm a man to be trusted. Make a clean breast of this in confidence, and I guarantee you'll be okay.
The existence of Mr. Hyde in general, according to Freud, would show an existence of a breakdown in the personality and in the psyche of Dr. Jekyll. Mr. Hyde represents all of the unconscious forces, desires, thoughts, and beliefs that Dr. Jekyll consciously isn't able to attend to or reconcile in a waking state. A normal person is able, or a typical person is able to reconcile between their id, their superego, and have their ego kind of drive them in a balanced way. So Freud would maybe have argued that Dr. Jekyll was not a stable person, because the fact that Mr. Hyde even exists means that his psyche was so unstable that it had to break into two personalities in order to reconcile these forces that he couldn't do on his own.
Jekyll, I demand to see you. I must and shall see you, if not by fair means, then by foul. If not by your consent, then by brute force.
Utterson, for God's sake, have mercy.
Ah, that's not Jekyll's voice. It's Hyde's. Down with the door, Pool. We have come too late, whether to save or punish. Hyde is gone in his account, and it only remains to find his master.
In this final scene, Dr. Jekyll is unable to turn back into Dr. Jekyll. This really shows that Mr. Hyde, or the id part of his personality, took over the conflict between the id and the superego. Freud believed that some people couldn't reconcile a balance between their superego and their id, and they became very id-driven. You could make a case, however, that Dr. Jekyll's superego was not completely suppressed, though, given the fact that he wants to hide his personality, or his id and his Mr. Hyde part of his personality, from the world, and that he wants to keep that from becoming public. You could argue that the superego is still in there influencing him, and this final act is a way for him to try to have his superego take over the id in one final way. In a lot of ways, you could see this as a theme in Victorian literature, as in the picture of Dorian Gray, his appearance in the world. He becomes so preoccupied with his appearance in the world that his reality too is compromised. So as Freud was creating his theories in the Victorian era, as the literature was also touching upon similar themes of personality conflicts and being true to your personality and reconciling desires with what's socially acceptable at a time when society was not open to expressing yourself and your personality.